Hey guys, welcome back to Raven's Crochet. I'm Sarah. Hello. And Raven is in the bedroom sleeping. She might come out here in a little bit hearing me talk. Here are some crochet samples I have made. This is the double V crochet stitch. This is the one without the border. And this is the one with the border. So I'm here to show you both ways you can make this. My favorite one here is with the border, because the bottom is going to have a border, and then the top, I will show you how to make the finishing top border to match the bottom. I'm also going to show you two tips that are going to consist with a longer tail at your very beginning chain. I'm going to show you two tips on this point. And then when I get done making both of these swatches for you guys, I'm going to show you how to complete the top to make it look like the bottom row. So I'm going to do the one without a border first, and I have the instructions written down. So, one without the border. This is just some plain 4 worsted weight yarn I got from Dollar Tree. You can also buy it from Premier Yarns. This colorway is called Rose. And it's one of my favorite colors. These little bitty skeins are only 131 yards, 120 meters, a little over 2 ounces and 60 grams. So these are great if you're doing amigurumi, or if you need to finish off a piece or something, or if you want to do some sample swatches to gauge how big you need the blanket or your sweater or whatever to be. So I'm going to start with a long tail. I'm going to go about, I don't know, 4 feet. Just go across your lap, or shoulder width to shoulder width. From shoulder to shoulder on your body. That's pretty much as long of a tail that you need. So then I'm going to start my chain. Make sure I start off the right way. Beginning tail goes below the hand, and then I'm going to wrap around and do my starting. Now this is a chain multiple of any even number, and doing the even number of stitches, you can use this to modify the width if you need to make it bigger or smaller. If you need to modify the width of your piece, do a multiple of 3 stitches plus 1. But primarily you just want to do an even number of stitches. Now I'm not going to count these stitches because I don't like to count on camera, and it's boring to hear and watch. Hi Raven. See, Raven just came out. I started talking. Come here, baby. Look. Look what I'm doing. Here she is. Say hi, Raven. Say hi, Raven. See? Say hi. Nope. Okay, baby girl. She's on the couch with me now. So we're going to do an even number of stitches here. It doesn't matter how big or how small if you're just going to practice making a swatch here. Because with this long tail, I'm going to show you what to do with that. And of course I did it wrong. The beginning tail goes out this way. Then you want your working yarn underneath your hand. See, I did it wrong. I'm like all turned around because this is a brand new camera setup. I'm like 2 weeks late getting this video out, but I got sick for a couple of days. I had like a massive headache. I have like a headache at least once or twice a week. It's ridiculous. But then I had to order a new phone stand, because this one can go up to 6 feet tall, and I have the height of it up to about 4 feet right now. So I'm sitting down, and so far this is the easiest way for me to do tutorials. So I'm crocheting stitches, doing my base chain. I'm not even counting the number of stitches, although the pattern says to do a multiple of 3 stitches plus 1, or an even number. So that's enough. We're just going to do a sample swatch. So then the row 1, we're going to start with a chain 3. So grab it onto that base stitch that we just worked. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to double crochet into that same stitch. So this first chain 3 counts as a double crochet. Then in that same stitch, now mind you, we just did the chain 3, 1, 2, 3. So now in your 4th chain from hook, you're going to do a double crochet. And I like to crochet under 2 loops instead of 1 loop. And now we're going to chain 1 in that same chain space that we just worked. We're going to do 2 more double crochets. Get a hold of my yarn properly here. 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. Okay, and this creates your first cluster. There's no border here, just like on this sample piece. A little lower so you can see. So then the pattern says to skip 2 chains and then do another cluster into the third chain. But then the one with the border says to skip 3 chains. But I'm going to do what the pattern says. You might notice that it curls a little bit. Do about 3 or 4 clusters, and then you can hold your work back and see how you like it. Doing the chain 2 spaces on the base, that can make your work kind of gather a little bit more. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay. This piece that I started, I followed this pattern exactly. And you see how it's kind of clustering a little bit. It's not completely straight. That's fine if you are okay doing a shawl or a scarf that kind of gathers at the ends. I'm going to leave it like this because I think it looks pretty, and I'm going to do like a really wide shawl scarf pattern with this. But anyways, it says to skip 2 chains. If you don't like that, go back, undo your work, and then you can skip 3 chains. Oops. Sorry, I'm messing up my stand thingy here. Okay, you guys can see, as long as you guys can see, that's the main point. So yarn over to get our next stitch prepared, skipping 1, 2, in the third chain space we're going to work another cluster. The cluster is 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets in the same chain stitch. Chain 1, and 2 more double crochets. And then we're going to repeat this until we get to the end of our row. Skip 1, 2, and then in the third one we'll do another cluster. This is a hook that I'm not used to working with, but it's beautiful. I love the bright yellow of it. One of my subscriber friends sent it to me. One of you lovely ladies. You know who you are if you're watching. She sent me this hook a couple of years ago. It's a Furls crochet hook. It's a 6mm J. I don't know if you can see that or not. 6mm. It's an acrylic hook, and it's really pretty. Okay, so we're going to chain 2 or skip 2. In the third we will do another cluster. 1, 2 double crochet, chain 1, and 2 more double crochet. Oops, forgot to yarn over there. Here we go. And obviously, if you are new to crocheting, you are going to need to know how to do your base chain. You'll need to know how to do double crochets and just chain 1s. Now you see how this is kind of curving a little bit. I don't know why the pattern says to chain 2, but I think you should chain 3. If you want your base to be straight, like I did on this one, let's see here. 1, 2, 3. I think I did follow the pattern here. I don't know. It's just something that you want to play with. This is why samples are so important, especially if you're going to make a garment or sweater with this or something. You really want to make sure your gauge is the correct width, and you want to make sure that your bottom row lays flat, especially if you're doing a rectangular piece where you want that shape to stay in place. So doing another cluster here. Do another cluster. We're going to skip 1, 2, and then in the third one we'll do another cluster. And again, this is the double V crochet stitch without a border. Yeah. Come on, come on, come on. I'm ready. Okay, so we're making some progress. We got 6 clusters so far. We're going to do it again. Skip 1 and 2, and then the third one. Do another cluster, 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochet. Okay. And 1, 2, 3. We're going to do it one more time, and then the third one. Okay. I'm just about to tell you guys my 2 tips here at this end of the row. Get your notebooks out if you want to write this tip down. Okay, so here's what I mean. You see how I'm just laying this down flat. So when I skip 2 chains on the base, you see how it curves like this? Go ahead and skip 3 chains. And then you can do, let's see, 1, 2, 3, and then in the fourth one, then you can do another cluster. Skip 3, and the fourth one, do another cluster, and repeat. That way your end will not be curved like this. So I really think this should be a chain 3. Now here's my tip. Did I finish that stitch? Yes, I did. Okay. So I have 1 more chain space here. Now initially when you start this, you don't want to tighten this little knot, but you can always use a little darning needle. Let me see if I can find one handy here. This is a little lipstick case I keep darning needles in, so I can go in here. I can loosen this knot just a little bit. Hopefully. These darning needles help so much, not just for weaving in ends, but they're also great for getting into tight stitches if your tension is too tight. We have an extra chain, and my first tip is to take this out. Let me see if I can do it. I forgot to mention when you very first start your chains, you want to keep this very first chain loose. So that's my bad. My fault. Let's see. Work with me, please. Come on, work with me. I might show you on my next swatch if I can't get this in a minute. Let's see here. Well, this is not, there we go. So you just want to pull out that first stitch, and your tail is not that long, so you can be able to pull it out. There we go. And then now that first chain right there, gone. We just pull that closed, gone. Now if you have a couple more chains, or if your piece is too short, if it's too narrow, you can make it longer with this extra tail. So we're going to go back in here in this loop, this very, very bottom loop, put our yarn in. We can pull up a loop and then do a few more chains. Or however many that you think you might need. And then reorganize your work here and get your live stitch and tighten it back down over your hook. And then you see you have more to work with. You have more to work with. You can do another cluster if you want to. So then I will skip, I'll stick with the same pattern. I'll skip 1, 2, let me make sure this is oriented the right way first. Here we go. 1, 2, and then let's see here. 1, okay. And then in the third stitch, we'll do another cluster. I'll give you guys another look at this same tip when I do the different colored yarn for the other swatch. Because I know I goofed up on that one big time by not letting that knot be a little looser. You see, there's another cluster. So now we've got extra chains at the bottom, so all we do is we can take these out. Take them out. That's why you want to leave it a little loose, so you can just go in there and you can pull those chains and stitches right out, tighten that down, and there you go. Now, row 1, and this is a repeat row. You've done your base row, so now every other row from here is the same. I love one row repeats. They're so easy to learn, especially for the beginners. So we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and these first 2 double crochets we're going to slip stitch. So you go insert your hook, pull the yarn through, and then pull the yarn through. That's a slip stitch. Insert your hook into the top 2 loops of that double crochet, pull yarn through and through. Chain 1 space, we're going to do a slip stitch there, pull through and pull through, and that's where you start. The very first of every single row, that's how you're going to start it. So then you're going to chain 3, and this will count as your first double crochet. And then you will do a double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet. Oops, come on. And there is your first cluster on your second row. And then this pattern, I love this pattern because after your base row, you don't have to work in any of the stitches except for your slip stitches at the beginning. So yarn over, and the chain 1 space, we're going to work another cluster. And again, the cluster is 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. Next cluster, you're going to be working into these spaces, top of those spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so 7 more clusters. So I'm going to do one more cluster, and then that chain 1 space, we do 2 double crochets, chain 1, oops, and then 2 more double crochet. Now say I'm at the end of this work, I'm going to show you one more time on how to do the row. So this is the end of my row. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. In these first 2 double crochets, we're going to insert our hook, pull through and pull through, insert hook into the next stitch, pull through and pull through, and the chain 1 space, insert hook, pull through and pull through. And that is how you're going to start every row. Chain 3, which will count as your first double crochet, 1 double crochet into the same space, chain 1, 2 more double crochet. And then we will go into the next chain 1 space, doing 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochet. Hi Raven, I'm doing a little tutorial. Hi, I'm doing a tutorial, baby girl. I'm sorry I woke you up. Every time I start talking, if I'm on the phone, see, I'm mostly quiet. And when I start talking, that's when Raven's like, okay, she's giving her attention to something else, and she needs to be giving that attention to me, so here I come. Plus, cats, you know, are curious. They just want to see what you're doing. Okay, so there's the last cluster for the last row. No borders. You just go up and up and up and up, doing as many rows as you want to until your work is completed to the size that you want. Hey, baby girl. So now I'm going to show you how to do the swatch with the border. And this one is my favorite. No slip stitches are involved. So in my opinion, this works up much faster than the one that has no border. Doing these first 3 slip stitches on the beginning of each row, to me, just takes a lot more time. And it's a little annoying for me. Hi, baby. You want to say hi to camera? Say hi. Say hi. Say hi, baby. Say hi. Say hi, baby. He's so cute. He's so cute, baby. Okay. It's another 4 worsted weight yarn I got. This is Red Heart yarn. I don't have the label with me, but this is Red Heart. It's like a medium light gray with silver metallic thread running through it. It's gorgeous. It's a great little sample piece for this. So I'm gonna leave a long tail, start with the beginning tail about shoulder width apart, and then I'm going to wrap my yarn around and start my chains. And again, I've got the instructions written down. This is the double V crochet stitch with the border. This is a multiple of 4 plus 3. Now, of course, I'm not gonna count that on camera because it's boring, and I don't know. You can't really count that well when you're talking. I know it's difficult for a lot of people. So I'm just going to make a chain here, and then I'm going to show you guys that tip again. Let me do this again, actually. Okay. Leave a tail about shoulder width apart, and then start your chains however you like to start it. When you first make this first chain, do not tighten that knot. That's where I had that mistake the first time. Do not tighten that first knot. Leave it loose. And then make your chains. You can go back and tighten that when you feel happy with the width of your project. Just keep it loose for right now. It's not going to go anywhere because your tail is that long. It's not going to come undone. So I'm going to make a chain here and yap away because I don't like to count on camera. But this is where, again, this tip really comes in handy. And it's a quick tip that you don't, to where you don't have to undo all of your work just because your project is too narrow or too long or whatever. Okay, so this is about 20 chains, give or take. Doesn't count. So, oh my God, all the yarn just rolled away. So now, the base row, and the 5th chain from hook. 1, okay, the loop on your hook does not count because it's not a fully worked stitch. It's your live stitch. It's the one that you're working with right now. So your completed stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to yarn over and you're going to do your first cluster. Do a double crochet. Do a second double crochet into that same stitch. Chain 1. And then do 2 more double crochets in the exact same stitch. And there you have your first cluster. You've got your border row, which is 4 stitches. Then in that 5th stitch, you worked your first cluster. Now you're going to chain skip Now you're going to skip 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and then the fourth one, 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth one, we're going to do another cluster. Hi, baby. Yeah, Mommy's talking to my friends, okay? I'm showing them how to do something cool. This is one of my favorite patterns to do because it's so easy and it's relaxing. You want pets, honey? It's funny how cats pat the side of their face onto objects and stuff. Oh, baby girl. I'll give her some pets for a minute. Okay, baby. I'm in the middle of this cluster to do 2 more double crochets. Okay, so there's two clusters. Repeat 1, 2, 3, and then the fourth one, do another cluster. No slip stitches on this one. That's what I love about the pattern with the border. There's no slip stitches. I'm not too fond of slip stitches, although they are very handy and very useful for numerous things. They're very good to have, but most of the time I just don't care to use them. If I can get away with it, I won't use them. Okay, keep going here. 1, because I'm going to show you this tip at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4. Work another cluster. Chain 1. Work another cluster. After I finish this cluster, got 2 more double crochets. Okay, now we're on to 1, 2, skip 4, skip 3, and then the fourth one, we do another cluster. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing okay. I've zoomed in my camera as close as possible. Okay, let's see. Do I have room for one more? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I have just enough stitches left to do one more cluster, but I don't have enough chain spaces to do the row. So again, here's my tip. If you need to take these stitches out, just put your yarn hook in that loose knot and you can pull it out. Just like that. And I'll show you again. You just go in there and you want to pull it out. Just like that, and they come out. Now when you want to add more, you're going to go into your stitch here. In this case we need to add more, so I'm going to add, let's see, the 2 that we just prepped, I need to put back in there. So 1, 2, and then I need to put a few more just to be safe. If you put too many in, that's fine, no big deal. You can always pull them back out. Just leave this loop loose like that so you can pull it back out if you need to. Okay, and now we've got another cluster to do. So yarn over, we're going to skip 1, let's see, 1, 2, 3, and then in the fourth one we'll do another cluster. Double crochet, 2 double crochet, chain 1, and 2 double crochet. Okay, so you have all your clusters. Now you need to mimic this other side with your border. So we're going to, let me make sure I get in the next chain. We're going to skip 1 chain. We'll skip 1 chain, which is this one here, and then all we're going to do is do a double crochet in this very last chain. Just like that. So there's our border. I mimics the other side of the border. And now that we have our row long enough, all we got to do is tighten this up down here. And there you go. Now, for row 2, this is your repeat row. Again, this is the same similar pattern to where it's only one row repeat, and I love this. You don't have to memorize 2 rows, just one. So every single row, you are going to chain 3 and turn your work. That's your border. Now we don't have to do any slip stitches. We're just going to skip right over these double crochets. And in the chain 1 space, we're going to work a cluster. So yarn over and do a double crochet, yarn over, do another double crochet, same chain 1 space, get some more yarn slack, chain 1, and then 2 more double crochets in the same chain 1 space. Just like that. So we are essentially working a cluster on top of every cluster. And then after every single cluster at the end of the row, all we do is do a double crochet in the very last chain space. So let me see if I can get to that end. And by the way, it is Saturday for me. I'll be uploading this video on Saturday night. And hope you guys had a great weekend. My complex is having a pool party today, but I don't typically like crowds. They're giving away free ice cream, which ice cream is not that expensive, and I've got 2 flavors in my freezer right now. So I prefer to go to the pool in the evenings or in the early mornings when it's not quite so hot, and when the pool is more peaceful and there's not as many kids splashing around. You know, I particularly like areas where they are peaceful and quiet. So I'm just going to keep working clusters until I get to the end of this row, and I'm going to show you one more time how to begin your row on this swatch with the border. Okay, now I've got one more cluster. That's 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. And then some patterns, or the pattern I will be providing online, it tells you to go into the top of this chain 1, 2, 3 at the top of it and do your last stitch, but it's easier for me to just insert my hook into that whole space right there. It's so much easier. And as long as you do the exact same thing at the end of every row, it's going to look good on both sides. So you see how this one, all I did was, that's a double crochet. I did my cluster here, and then this is a double crochet into that last space. And then this next row up, I chained 3, turned my work, and I did a cluster here. Cluster, 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 and then a double crochet. Chain 3, cluster, 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 double crochet stitch. You chain 3, cluster, cluster, you know, you get the idea now. So that way your rows, your borders look the same on both sides, and it doesn't take as long going into the whole space to do your double crochet instead of just trying to find a stitch and then crocheting your double crochet into that. So at the beginning of each row, chain 3, and that's going to be your border, and then you will work your clusters into these chain 1 spaces. Chain 1 spaces. Now I'm going to show you the finishing border tip. I left my white yarn attached to this piece so that I can show you how to do the finishing border. So flip your work over to where you have the very bottom on the top, and you're going to pretend like you've already crocheted this stitch like normal. So what this looks like to me is you have a chain 1 space, and then you have a slip stitch, then you have chain 3, slip stitch, chain 3, slip stitch, chain 3, slip, chain, slip, And then you're going to either do a chain one space and then a double crochet, or we're probably just going to do a double crochet in that last stitch to end it. So here we go. Get your live stitch back on your hook and tighten it a little bit. I'm going to chain one and turn my work. And let me see here. I'm going to chain two more, because remember, this is a row where you are doing a chain 3 every single time. Let's see, I think that might work. And then I'm going to do a slip stitch in this chain one space, just a slip stitch. I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to do a slip stitch into this chain one space, just a slip stitch. Chain 3 and slip stitch. Now that I've done a few clusters, I'm going to go back and look at this corner and make sure it's right. I've got a chain 3 down there, and this is a chain 3 up here, so yes, that's right. Now I'm going to chain 3, in the chain one space, do a slip stitch. Chain 3, slip stitch. And you're pretty much just going to pull yarn through and then pull yarn through to where you have one loop left on your hook. Then I'm going to chain 3. Then I'm going to slip stitch into this last chain space just right there. Pull through and pull through. And that is how you can finish your top to make it look similar to the bottom. And that completes your swatch. I will have the links for both of these instructions. I found them on 2 different websites. So the first one will have no border, and the second one will have the border. That's all I've got for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I'm going to go give Raven some love and affection. She's been sleeping the last couple of hours while I got all this stuff prepped and got laundry going. I have coming soon some plain t-shirts I just bought from the craft store with some iron-on letters. I'm customizing my own t-shirts to wear out, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that. And I'll show you guys the t-shirts when they're done as well. I have some other stuff coming up. I've got a giveaway coming. I got some scripture coming. I'm gonna give you guys my testimony. And it's just going to be a bunch of good stuff coming up. I have a knitting loom I'm going to give away pretty soon so that you can get prepped and make some hats and scarves or sweaters for the winter time. And I will also be including some yarn and stuff with that as well. So I hope you guys have a great week, and thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. If you'd like to enter my giveaways, you must be a subscriber. And God bless you all. I hope you guys have a good week, like I said, and happy crocheting. Peace and love.